cook along friends. How are you? How is everyone doing? So happy to see you today. We are making one of my favorite recipes. It's a recipe that we have in our family quite often, and it's hidden veggie turkey meatballs. So as soon as we all start to get checked in, we'll talk about the ingredients that we need and how we'll get started. So if you're with me, watching me live, send me a wave, give me a thumbs up. I'd love to hear from you. And also, if you are watching live, I'd love to see your pictures of how your food turns out. And always on the replay, let me know that you've watched it as well, with showing pictures and letting me know how everything turned out. Questions, anything that you need, let me know. And let's talk about what we're gonna make today. Alrighty, so as I said, this is a family favorite. We make this a lot, and it's a great way to get vegetables into a meal that is very hearty and substantial. I'm gonna say hello to my friend Sarah. I haven't seen her in such a long time. How are you? So great to see your name pop up. I hope your whole family's doing great. All right, so hidden veggie meatballs. I'm making them with turkey, but you can make them with beef or even chicken if you like, ground chicken. And I'm gonna also say hello to Brianna and Avalon. Hi girls, how are you? I wish I could cook with you live in person, but here I am, and I can't wait to get this delicious recipe going. So first thing you wanna do is that we've got some veggies that are going inside of our meatballs. So we need to make sure that they've been washed. So take a moment to wash your zucchini and your carrots. Rinse them off under cold water and then dry them off with a paper towel. And then while you're there, wash your hands. So we always want to get started with hand washing. Let me show you what else you're gonna need. You're gonna need some ground turkey. And I like to use the 80-20 ground turkey that has a little bit of dark meat in it, but you could also use the 90-10% turkey that has just white meat in it. So it just means it's lower in fat with the white meat, and this is a little bit higher in fat. And I like that flavor that you get from having a little bit of the dark meat in it. So you'll need 1 pound, and I just put mine into a bowl. So you can unwrap yours, put it into a bowl. If you touch the turkey, you want to make sure that you wash your hands. We also have some fresh herbs. I washed these as well, so this is something that you'll just want to rinse off, and then I put it in a paper towel and I just let it dry in the paper towel to get all the extra moisture off. So my herbs today are parsley and thyme, but you could also use basil instead of either of those herbs, or oregano if you like oregano. So there's our herbs. We have, of course, our carrots and zucchini. A shallot. So this is a shallot. It's kind of a funny vegetable. It's in between, it looks kind of in between a garlic clove and an onion, but it's a little bit milder than an onion, and we're just gonna use half of this and mince it up really finely to go into our hidden veggie meatballs. These two things are called aromatics. So aromatics are what make your food taste flavorful. And then we also have 1 large egg, and whatever marinara sauce you like. So this is an organic, I think I got it from Whole Foods marinara. You need 1 cup. I put mine directly into a pan because I'm gonna put it on the top of the stove to heat it up. And then the meatballs, after they come out of the oven, are gonna go right in there. And by the way, these meatballs are made in the oven, so it also is another way for them to be very healthy and easy to make. Frying meatballs is messy, and it also adds more fat. So these are oven roasted turkey meatballs. So while you're thinking about that oven, let's go ahead and turn ours on. We're gonna preheat to 350 degrees. Now you can always refer back to the recipe that I've posted on the Facebook group page, but just a reminder, 350 degrees, so you're gonna heat your oven. You can put your marinara sauce on the oven as well, and we'll talk about the equipment that we'll need. So we're gonna be squeezing the vegetables and the meatballs together with some eggs. So I like to use gloves. If you don't use gloves, you just make sure you give yourself a really great hand washing after you've mixed everything together. You'll need some paper towels handy, and then a cheese grater or a microplane. Now we're gonna use the very fine part of the grater because we want our veggies to be hidden inside that meatball, even though you're gonna know they're in there. Whoever you're serving it to won't be able to tell that there's actually vegetables in the meatballs. So microplane or cheese grater. You'll need a small knife that fits your hand and a cutting board that doesn't slip. And I use a scoop to make my meatballs. You can use your hands as well, but this makes this so easy, and then every meatball is exactly the same size, which makes it cook more evenly through. And then I have some tongs so I can take the meatballs off of the sheet pan. All right, so hand washing's done. Our produce is all clean. And this is a really super recipe. Like I've said before, the recipes that I make on this cook along are usually take under a half an hour. So this is what we'll need to do to get set up. First of all, you're gonna need your cutting board, and you're gonna need to take one paper towel and put it on top of the cutting board. Oh, I forgot one thing, salt and pepper. While I get my salt and pepper, I'm gonna say hi to my friend River, and maybe Mira is watching today too, and I would love to say hello to Mira. So cutting board, paper towel, grater, or microplane. You're gonna take your zucchini and cut off the little end that the root was on. So I already practiced grating this to see how it worked on this grater. So my root end is off, but just give it a little bit of a cut. It's gonna look like this. You hold on to the zucchini with your claw grip, and then you take your knife, anchor it into the vegetable, and push forward while you cut that off. And then we're gonna take our zucchini, and on the fine grater side, not the shredder side, but the fine grater, not the large, the fine grater side, we're gonna shred it. And we need about a 1/4 cup. You can measure it if you like. This is what a 1/4 cup looks like. And, but I just kind of eyeball it. It won't be this whole zucchini, but I'd like to get as many vegetables as I can in there, so try to get that as much as zucchini as you can. So you're gonna notice as you're grating this on top of the paper towel that it's very wet. So that's why we have it on the paper towel, because we don't want all that water to go into our meatballs. We want the liquid to be squeezed out. It's gonna stick to your grater. And so here I have about a 1/4 cup. I'm gonna take my paper towel, wrap it around, squeeze out all that excess liquid. Anything that you're not using, just move it over to the side so you can have lots of room on your cutting board. So we're taking the paper towel, blotting out all that liquid. Let's see if I eyeballed this correctly, that this is about a 1/4 cup. Take it out of there. It's all dry now. And I did a good job. There you go. 1/4 cup of zucchini goes into your ground turkey. Get rid of that paper towel. Put another paper towel here. Cut off the tip of our carrot. So you're going to hold on to the carrot with your claw grip. Put your knife where you'd like the cut to happen. Make sure that it's anchored slightly, and then push forward. So now my tip is off. I'm gonna put my grater back on, or I could use my microplane if I wanted to. The microplane, I always like to secure it by putting the tip of the microplane on the board, and then being very careful with my fingers, rubbing it up and down. Either grater works great. Get it? So we're in the middle of spring here in Georgia, and we have pollen everywhere, and it's like snow, yellow snow. You come out in the morning, there's a dusting of pollen on your patio furniture, your car, porches, and it makes me a little bit allergic, but it's very beautiful here right now. So many flowers. I hope you're having a beautiful spring as well. Keep an eye on your fingers as they get closer to the teeth of the grater. When you're using your microplane, just tap, tap, tap. And I'm looking at this carrot. It looks like a 1/4 cup to me. I'm gonna go ahead and put it into my turkey meatballs. Okay, so up next we have a garlic clove that we're going to grate. So we need to get the skin off the garlic clove, but I don't want to smash the garlic clove because it's going to be easier for me to hold it while I grate it with the clove being intact all together. So I'm just going to cut off this little root end and then maybe just press on it slightly with my knife, but not to smash it, just to crack the skin. And then I'm going to take the skin off. You might already have some garlic that is grated. That's perfectly fine to use. If you have that, instead of a whole garlic clove, just use about a half of a teaspoon of it. So if you already have your garlic grated, go ahead and measure out a half a teaspoon and put it directly into the turkey mixture. All right, so here's my garlic. I don't have to put a paper towel down. There's not much moisture in it, but I do want to get all the papery skin off my cutting board so that way I don't end up with that papery skin inside my turkey mixture. So I'm going to take my microplane, just one garlic clove. So far we have a pound of turkey, a quarter cup of zucchini, a quarter cup of grated carrot, and then as I grate my garlic clove into the turkey mixture, I'm going to hold on to the end, and once I get really close to my fingers, I'm just going to throw that away. I don't need to get every bit of that garlic clove in there. Then tap, tap, tap. Sometimes you might have to clear this with your finger. Now, one way to get the smell of garlic off of your hands after you've touched garlic is to rub your hand on stainless steel, like the faucet. You can just rub your hands on the stainless steel faucet, and it will take that garlic smell off of your hands. Okay, so next we have our shallot. So we only need a half of a shallot. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut it in half, cut off the top, put the cut side down, and cut it into half again, and then get the papery skin off. Now I can get that skin off because it's, and you might need to take the first layer of the shallot off as well. So we're gonna mince this very fine so nobody can tell that we put shallots in the meatballs. But first we have to chop it. So first I'm just gonna do a rough chop on these shallots, just until I have smaller pieces. And then we're gonna mince. Now, you might be using a smaller knife, a paring knife. Yeah, there it is. Like this. If that's what you're using, talk to an adult and switch out your knife to a chef knife. This is a very safe cutting practice, so you're not going to be in any danger of cutting yourself. The chef knife just gets things cut. It's the right shape for this cut. So what you want to do is you hold onto your knife, pinching the blade and wrapping your hands around, and then you put the tip of the knife down, and the tip of the knife is stuck in crazy glue. It doesn't move ever at all. And then your hand goes on top of the knife with the fingers curled up. And then you're going to take the back of the knife, the heel of the knife, and move up and down this food. Gather it back together, up and down. And you can see when I'm cutting, I'm keeping the tip down here and I'm just moving in a fan shape, an arc, and gathering back together. Another thing that I'm doing is I'm just moving the knife. I'm not moving my body. So I'm not going like this around to mince it. I'm standing still. I'm letting the knife do the work. Back together. Here's the thing that will also happen. The food starts to gather on your knife. Just gently push away that food that's gathered. Push away. Don't ever rub your finger along the knife. So half a shallot goes in next. We're just going to keep on doing this cut until we get it fine enough so it's hidden. So it is going to look like this. And then I'm gonna put that right into my turkey mixture. My friend Delora just commented the pollen is crazy. It is really crazy this year. We've had crazy weather. We had tornadoes here. Really crazy. All right, then the next thing that's gonna go in is my thyme and my parsley. So I'm gonna do that same cut with the parsley leaves. And I only need a tablespoon, and I only need a half of a teaspoon of thyme. So let's get the parsley going first. Take out any stems that are on your parsley. Gather the parsley in the middle of your board, and it's gonna start crawling around all over your board. You just gather it back together, tip down, heel the knife up and down, gather it together. So you're not gonna pick your knife up, tip stays down, gather it back together. And we'll just keep on working through this. The smaller it gets easier. Make sure you don't hold onto your knife like this, that the fingers stay curled up as you put your hand. The hand just keeps the force of the knife going through the food. Again, the idea is this to be minced very finely so it stays hidden. If you just tuned in and you haven't turned on your ovens yet, go ahead and heat your oven to 350. And there's also one piece of equipment I forgot to talk about, and that is you need a baking sheet and some parchment paper. All right, so here's my very thinly minced parsley. I only need a tablespoon. A tablespoon looks like this. So if you cup your hand, that's all you need. You can put an extra if you like. I love parsley. And you can use a tablespoon measuring spoon if you like as well. All right, so thyme. Thyme comes on these long, very hard stems. First, we want to get the little tiny tender leaves off of the stem. So what you do is you hold on to the tip of the stem and then you pull backwards. Pull backwards, get all the leaves off till you have that. Now the stem goes off to the side. We only need a half of a teaspoon of fresh thyme, and the thyme really lends itself to such an aroma and flavor. But if you don't have fresh thyme, you can use dried thyme, or you could use dried basil or oregano if you like. So just gonna do half of a teaspoon. So my thyme sprigs are very long. You might have shorter ones. I'm only gonna be using about 3 thyme sprigs. Gather in the middle of the board so you have your mound that you're working through, and keep going with that mincing motion. The more you do it, the more practice you get, the faster it will be. I did a little bit more than a half a teaspoon of thyme. Let me get my measuring spoon out. We can see what that looks like. So keep mincing. Oop. And here's my half teaspoon. Yeah, I have a little bit more than what I need. That's gonna go in there too. Next up, after you're all finished mincing, you can put your cutting board to the side. We've done all of our cutting that we were gonna do. The next ingredient is 1 whole large egg. So when I crack eggs, I might crack it differently than the way that you've seen eggs being cracked. When a lot of people crack eggs, they crack it on the side of the bowl, and what the side of the bowl can do is drive those eggshells right up into the egg, and then you end up with eggshells in your food. I just do a little tap tap on the counter, and then I have a small little crack here. I'm going to take my thumbs on the bottom and my fingers on top and just gently put pressure on that little crack I made, and then open it up like a book. Now every time I touch an egg, I need to wash my hands. So I'm going to do a 20-second hand wash right now while you're cracking your egg. So I'll meet you back here. Great job, everybody. So that's what goes inside the meatballs, except we need to give it some flavor. So here's what you should have looking so far. We're going to give it about 5 cranks of pepper. If you don't have a pepper mill like this, then you're going to give it just a pinch of pepper from a pot, from a pepper jar. And then it's a half a teaspoon of salt, which you can measure. Or you can also just do 2 big pinches of salt. This is kosher salt. You could use sea salt, iodized table salt. You could use that as well. So get your scoop handy. Get your sheet pan or baking sheet handy, however you want to call it. It can be called either thing. Grab your gloves. Some parchment paper, or a silicone mat if you prefer to use that when you're baking. And we're going to mix this up. It's kind of fun. I like using a glove. Again, if you don't use the gloves, go ahead and give yourself an extra hand washing, 40 seconds instead of 20. So we're going to go in there and just squeeze it together. You want to make sure that egg goes everywhere. One thing that you won't see in this meatball is breadcrumbs. So what breadcrumbs do is give the meatball more moisture. And since we put vegetables in it, it already has moisture in there. I try to cook with as little gluten as possible. I'm not a gluten-free chef or opposed to gluten, but I just like the texture of these meatballs without the breadcrumbs. What's going to make it stick together? Normally breadcrumbs would be another thing that would make it stick together. The egg is making this stick together. So after you have it all mixed, you'll see that it's completely combined. You don't have any yellow egg yolk in there, but you don't want to overmix it. So just as soon as you see it combined, that's when you stop. If you overmix it, your meatballs will start to get tough. Take off your gloves or give yourself your hand washing. And even if you're wearing gloves, you still have to wash the hands after. So is everyone with me so far? They have their mixture all mixed up. Now we're going to get ready to go into the oven. So this is about 2 tablespoons of a scoop. I have a smaller scoop that I use as well, but it makes a smaller turkey meatball. And actually, I'm going to let you see what that looks like. This is my small scoop. This is my this scoop. I think this scoop is perfect. That's a perfectly sized meatball. And then you're going to take your scoop. Squeeze it into the cup of the scoop. Level it off. The reason why we level it off is that way every meatball is going to be the same. And then you're just going to squeeze the lever to release the meatball. If you want to have a perfectly round meatball, you could go through with your hands again and make it a little bit rounder. But with the turkey being a softer meat, it kind of relaxes a little bit anyway. And the reason why we want our meatballs to be all the same size is that we're going to bake them in the oven. And if one is big and one is small, one will bake quickly and one will not bake all the way through. Remember, if you touch the turkey, it's a potentially hazardous food. That's what they call it, potentially hazardous food. What that means is that it can make you sick if you eat it raw. So you have to make sure that if you touch the turkey, you do that fantastic hand washing job that you guys have been doing. Great. All right, so I'm just gonna show you, this is what it looks like. You're gonna get about 10 to 12 meatballs. So you'll need a second sheet pan. Now these aren't cookies, so you don't have to space them out too much, but you do want to give them some space, that way they can all get evenly browned. So if they're too close together, they'll just kind of start to steam instead of brown. So here we go. This is going to go into the oven for 20 minutes, this size. This size took about 15 minutes. So I'm going to put mine in the oven, and while I put mine in the oven, I'm also going to turn on my marinara sauce. You can have an adult help you open the oven because sometimes the hot air comes out. Set your timer for 20 minutes if you're making large meatballs, and then turn on your marinara. Now, the temperature of meat, turkey, is supposed to be 165 degrees when it's done cooking all the way through. But I can't find my probe thermometer. So there's a thermometer you can use, and you can put it inside the middle of your turkey meatball. If you have that, you can use that to make sure it's 165. We just moved, so I'm still finding things in boxes. But another way to tell if meat is done is that you touch it, and if it doesn't spring back, then it's cooked all the way through. You could also, if you want to, cut it, one of them in half, and just check and make sure that it's cooked all the way through. What that means is that there's not going to be any pink, and the juices are going to run clear. So I'm going to go ahead and let my meatballs go. I know you probably don't want to hang out with me for 20 minutes, but if you have any questions, just drop a comment and I will get back to you. I'll be watching this feed for the rest of the day. And let me know how your meatballs turn out. You can always send me a picture on this private group, and let me know how you like them. So if you like these cook-along classes and you want more, I do have a more advanced kitchen boot camp. So you can always ask me if you'd like to sign up for it. I'll give you all the information. I'll also drop the information in the comments below. So I'm going to say hi to Shirley and Barbara and Clarita before I go. But please let me know if you have any questions. I hope you love your hidden veggie meatballs, and I hope to cook along with you next week. Thanks so much. Bye.